Wake up this morning. Are you feeling okay? You look at A.J. Brown, which is this number one wide receiver who got one target all night, and then you got CeeDee Lamb. But that's the
when was the one target?
That's the target.
But
though.
I'm saying
when was the one target?
I'm saying you could have it both ways.
54 seconds left in the game on 2nd and 11. It was the one target. He runs the out route.
You wake up this
the
morning saying A.J. Brown
has
had a better day than CeeDee Lamb.
But you know what you wake up saying though? A.J. Brown's team is 1-0.
Of course,
right? Like that's what
I get it.
But the thing is this though, and we shouldn't do this on TV, and so I apologize if people think this is rude. That's the non-player.
Oh, stop! That's CeeDee Lamb is.
Let me tell you why. I'm not looking
at fantasy football, Ryan. I'm not. Don't belittle me like that. I could come in and say, as 3X players are saying one thing, and give an alternative perspective that maybe CeeDee Lamb did play well. And
Peter, what I need for you to do is not get mad and let me finish for one.
Okay, go on.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
Okay.
As a player, I can't speak for CeeDee Lamb. I'm speaking for me.
So this actually became a very big thing all over social media, and a lot of people are talking about it because we often hear these debates now when it comes to former players, and you're talking about analysts, right? And especially analysts who have never played professionally before. That's why this whole thing became such a big topic. Now, I'm not sure if, everybody who's going to be watching this has heard about this before I'm talking about it. But as I mentioned, it was a big discussion. And I think there is a bigger discussion to be made here when it comes to that, right? Because I think there's a whole bunch of players right now that are getting really ticked off about seeing a whole bunch of analysts and people doing podcasts and all that kind of stuff who have never played the game before, but are giving their, quote unquote expertise here about the game of basketball, which, to me is probably an absolute big joke. But for a guy like Peter Schrager, you can't really do that with him. He has the experience. He is knowledgeable about the game of football. But let's go over a couple things first before we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. So Ryan Clark, everybody who knows Ryan Clark, does a great job with his podcast, The Pivot, and all the discussions that he's been having on there. And we've seen him on ESPN for a while, but 13-year career as a safety, Super Bowl champion with the Steelers, 2011 Pro Bowl selection, 938 career tackles, 16 interceptions, 4 sacks, 8 fumble recoveries, just to mention a few things. And Peter Schrager, host, reporter, analyst for Fox Sports and NFL Network, ESPN, where he is now, obviously, New York Times bestseller, but was also a writer since 2006 for Fox Sports. He has also covered every Super Bowl since 2005 in some capacity for Fox. So it's not like this guy is some nobody. This guy has been around the game for a very long time and has covered it in multiple different aspects and is knowledgeable about the game. And it's like I mentioned a lot of different times. I don't want this to be long, but before I continue, I do want to mention to everybody that Ryan Clark did issue an apology for that. And so I'm going to share that part with you right here with you. So here's what it says. Today, I had an interaction. So hold on, let me start here. While tweeting about last night game between the Chargers and the Chiefs, which was that Thursday or Friday night, Clark slipped in an apology. Today, I had an interaction with my colleague, Peter Schrager, both on and off the air that I regret. I have apologized to Peter and taken accountability with ESPN leadership. I value working with Peter and look forward to this season. My focus will remain on professionalism, teamwork, and being a better teammate moving forward. Now, I do want to mention this part here. The apology, which should be issued not on social media, but on the same platform where the incident occurred, discloses that. Beyond the disrespect Clark demonstrated on the air, something else happened when the cameras and microphones weren't on. Whatever Clark said or did, he felt compelled to include that in his public apology, I guess. So here's the thing. There will be times where something like this will happen. And maybe we might seeing it a bit more often because we're seeing so much more players now in the media space. You'll probably see it start happening a bit more on podcasts than you will on national TV, like we just saw here with Ryan Clark. But the funny thing is, I don't agree with what Ryan Clark said because I mentioned to you, Peter Schrager definitely has the credentials. This guy is not like some bum off the street. He definitely has the credentials to speak about the game of football. But I also understand where Ryan Clark was coming from because as a former player, Ryan Clark is looking at it from the perspective of, okay, I understand that you do know a lot about the game. You are knowledgeable, but the fact of the matter is you did not play and you don't understand what it's like to be on that field. And I can get it from that perspective. But here's the problem in regards to what Ryan Clark said. I do agree with what Peter said in that you can have more than one perspective here. You can have different opinions here. You don't always have to be right. I don't think that is the job of what Ryan Clark is up there to do. The goal is to not always be right. It's to share your perspective. The people who are watching the program can determine that. They can choose who they want to listen to. The best thing that you want to do is give your points and give your side. Everybody can give their side of what they want. And now you leave it up to the consumer to choose who you think is right. Just give your opinion. And I think that's where sometimes the former players, even though I understand, like I mentioned, Ryan Clark's perspective, that's sometimes where people get a little pissed off, right? Because at the end of the day here, when you see this kind of back and forth happen, especially when it happens on air, because here's an important part of why you think it's a little bit disrespectful, in my opinion. I'm going to play back one of the parts that right before Ryan came out and said what he said. Listen to how he gets it rolling. Listen to how the gears start moving with this. We shouldn't say this on air, which is, probably when you should have stopped and maybe saved it for after. But I'm going to play you the whole exchange one more time.
Are you feeling okay? You look at A.J. Brown, which is this number one wide receiver who got one target all night, and then you got CeeDee Lamb.
But that's the
When was the one
Schrager,
target?
that's the target.
But
though.
I'm saying,
when
like,
was the one
I'm
target?
saying you could have it both ways.
54 seconds left in the game on 2nd and 11. It was the one target. He runs the out route.
You wake up this
the
morning
corners
saying
got
A.J.
outside
Brown
leverage.
had a better day than CeeDee Lamb.
But you know what you wake up.
And in fact, this is what you want actually for a debate show, because that's what they're doing. You're giving alternate perspectives. People want to see this. So Ryan Clark shouldn't want Peter Schrager, in my opinion, to necessarily agree with him. I know if you're the producers, you damn sure don't want that either. Let's continue.
They know A.J. Brown's team is 1-0.
Of course.
Right, like that's what
I get it.
But the thing is this though.
Now pay attention to this. Pay attention to this.
And we shouldn't do this on TV. And so I apologize if people think this is rude.
This is where you should have thought it over if you were Ryan Clark. Like if you're going to have to give out an apology for this, like if you do this, do you just stand on it? Or if you're going to have to apologize, then, anyway, let's continue.
That's the non-player.
Oh,
view.
Stop. CeeDee Lamb is
let me tell you why. I'm not looking
at fantasy football. Ryan, I'm not. Don't belittle me like that. I could come in and say, as 3 ex-players are saying one thing and give an alternative perspective that maybe CeeDee Lamb did play well. And
Peter, what I need for you to do is.
And you see, by the time it gets to this, it gets extremely awkward here now. It gets really awkward. So, it's a good discussion. And if you are watching this, get in the comments. Do you believe there's a person who's right or wrong in this instance? Or do you believe it's something along the lines that I'm saying in regards to everybody is allowed to have the perspective? You don't have to come out there and be right all the time. One gives their side, the other gives their side, and then you leave it to the consumer to make up their opinion based on what they're hearing from both sides. I think that's really what it comes down to. And when you're out there and you're just focused on, listen, I understand what you're saying, but because I played and I'm the former player, you're just wrong here, pretty much. That's what this comes down to. When he says he's belittling him, like, and don't get me wrong here, there's this, when you talk about sports, right, and you're talking about it with a professional athlete, you know, in you, everybody around knows without it being said that you can never, to a certain degree, match up to what that person did who's actually stepped between those lines and went to battle. You know that. But still, you're around players, you're around executives, you've been in this industry for decades, you've been a writer, you have professional insight from coaches, scouts, players, and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm saying. And still, you're still very informative and knowledgeable about the game, maybe even more in certain aspects of the game in regards to the business, at least. But overall, like I mentioned, give me your thoughts here. Is there a right or wrong in this instance? Do you think Ryan Clark was disrespectful here? I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. At Micro7 on IG, at Micro23 on X. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and please share the podcast. This is your boy Mike Roach. I'll be back again soon. And I'm out. Let's finish this off.
Not get mad and let me finish for one.
Okay, go on.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
Okay.
Let's leave it there. Folks, I'm out.